We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet. We are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. We have McKenna Bray. How's it going?
Hello. Today? Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. It's Thursday. It's like I've gotten into this habit of people at work telling me, oh, it's Friday Eve. I don't know if I really buy that, but it's almost Friday.
I feel that. On Thursday nights. So
Right. So excited to have you here. Excited to get to chat with you. You're based out of Memphis. How's everything going in Memphis?
Good. I am currently in my room trying to, I hear my toddler upstairs. So, but Memphis is good. I'm here with my husband and our two boys, and I'm trying to think of anything Memphis-y. Nothing really comes to mind, but we're just hanging out. I've got two kids under 2, so I feel like I'm living in a little newborn bubble right now, and it's hard for me to even have conversations with people outside of my children. So
Fair. That'll be my sister this summer. She's having her second child, and
yeah.
So the first one will be 3 in September. So it'll be
that's
exciting.
the same. Yeah. That's the same. I've been talking to my 2-year-old all day. So sorry if I come across like, are you even there? I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm just not used to having adult conversation.
Very fair. So are you born and raised in Memphis, or where are you from originally?
Yeah, I am born and raised here. I grew up in a little suburb, Collierville, and then I went off to college in Knoxville, but then came back post college. So we love it here.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot to love about Memphis. You know, I think Memphis catches a bad rap a lot of times with like in the news and all that stuff. But if you know where to go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying, even like my family who doesn't live here, they're like, you've got to get alarm systems. Like, do you see the news? And I'm like, when you've lived here your whole life, that's just like, you know where to go for the most part, you know, but yeah, I mean, the people here are great. So
Yeah. I remember the last time I went to Memphis, I caught a nail in my tire, so I had to stop and put air in my tire, and I didn't really know where I was in Memphis, and I just pulled into a gas station randomly, and about 7 people, we'll just say it that way, 7 people came up asking for $1 and they'd fill up my tire for me, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. And so then I was just like, okay, this isn't working. I'm leaving. And I pulled into like an O'Reilly's or something. And I asked them if they had like an air pump, because the air pump at the gas station was sucking the air out of my car. It wasn't like filling the tire. So they were like, yeah, we got them for sale back there. There's like a $30, like whatever it was. I was like, okay, cool. Boom, boom, boom. Bought it. And he's like, dude, be careful out there. You're in a sketchy part of town. And I'm like, I ain't got
it sounds like you were.
Yeah. I was like, I grew up in the south side of Chicago. There's not a whole lot of places I'm afraid to go, but
wow, yeah.
By my standard, the sun was still up. It couldn't have been that bad. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably caught a bad part of this, so glad you made it out okay.
Right. I mean, I like Memphis. When I do come into town, I try and travel around, and like, yes, I'll do Beale Street and all that stuff, but try and catch different parts of Memphis, because I feel like there's more to it than just Beale Street.
Yeah, there's a lot more up and coming in like Overton Square area. Like my family actually opened a brewery downtown, and and like uptown. So there's a lot more to do than Beale Street. So next time you come to Memphis, let me know.
I will. So kind of obviously growing up in Memphis, music is kind of always around. Do you think that's where you got your bug for music? Like you got your interest, or was it something completely different than that?
I think it was probably both. Most of like growing up, my my parents, they were big music people. We always had either the radio on or they loved reality TV. So we watched American Idol like all the time.
Yeah.
And so I grew up watching that. We would go to Beale Street a lot, and you see Elvis, go to BB King's, and then there's Sun Records and Sun Studios, and so I knew of everything, and so it was just kind of like my culture growing up was very musically ingrained, and so I think I've always wanted to pursue it, but I grew up in a family there was not a ton of music in my family, except we like listened to a lot of music. But when it comes to like playing instruments and performing and musical theater, any of that, like we mostly did sports. And so it wasn't until like I went to college that I started to do anything in the music industry. So.
Fair. And now, was that like when you decided to, like, you were exploring it to do it like professionally and you had just kind of been singing and whatnot beforehand, or was it like college and then it's like, I'm free, let's go do what I want to do?
It was truly like a night and day difference. Like my parents didn't even know that I sang. And then I don't know why. I wish I had more confidence as a kid, I guess. But my journey was not the one where I sang in front of my parents ever. I got to college and then I honestly just felt this like inner calling. And I know like I truly felt like it was God telling me to do this. And so I thought I could sing, but you don't really know if you haven't sung in front of anybody. And so I was 19, I believe, when I I literally sent in like an audition for like my home church in Memphis. And I was all the way in Knoxville because I was like, I would love to sing and try. And then because I had an audition to do that. And so they loved it, said yes. And then they said, next time you're back in town, come sing at church. And so I did. And then it was honestly like a hometown. What? Like everybody was like, you could do this whole time, and didn't say anything. And so after that moment, it really just kind of like everything else just started happening because I was like, okay, this is what I feel like I'm meant to do, even though I have absolutely no idea where to start, but this is what I want to do. So that's where it started.
Nice. It's actually funny you kind of brought that or told that story because I literally just had a very similar story with my dad this morning.
Oh, wow.
I was driving to work and I was telling him, I was like, because I've been doing this podcast for about 9 years now. And
that's amazing.
I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I got this idea for a business. And I was telling him about it. And he was like, honestly, I never thought you were in, like, it was something to do with blending music and sports together, like a sync agency type situation. And he goes, I always thought you were going to go more into sports. I never knew you were into music. And
wow.
So it was just one of these things. It's like, Dad, I've been doing the podcast for 9 years and you're just now telling me you never thought this was what I'd be doing with my life. So,
my gosh. Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
It's fun when we surprise our parents.
Oh, yeah. It's always fun. And it's even funnier because he lives down in South Florida. And so it's like, I only get to see him every so often. And it's like every once in a while, he just pulls out these little banger of nugget of information. And it's like, oh, well, okay. Well, I'm glad I rocked your world on that one. So,
right.
So you said it was in Knoxville where you really started to kind of discover yourself musically. At that time, who were you listening to, like, for inspiration, or were you just kind of figuring it all out on your own?
Oh yeah, I was a huge Civil Wars fan, which I'm still sad that they're no longer together. But they were a big inspiration for me, and I was also listening to like just your classics like Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris. I was kind of trying to figure out like what lane I wanted to go in at the time, because I know I was like, I just was in hearing like, that's so important. Find your brand, find your lane, find your sound. And so I was listening to a lot of that music and just started to learn guitar. I learned piano. I took piano lessons at the University of Tennessee. Shout out to my piano professor. And I, and I would loved all of my music classes. And I felt like I finally found like what makes me come alive. Like I'm sure you have your things that make you come alive. And that's how I felt when I picked up guitar and picked up piano and started to sing. And so, yeah, those people, I mean, to this day, like I still will go back and listen to like Joy Williams from the Civil Wars because I just feel like their lyrics are insane and vocally they're insane. So I feel like if you want to be the best, you got to study from the best.
Right.
And I think they're the best.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where it's like you got to figure out your thing and what you like and, identifying your best. Because, like, I mean, just kind of figuring out what you want to be and, just going for it. So.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And so was it after college when you started like writing and recording your own music, or was this all during college as well?
Yeah. So once I started to, practice and all of that, I also was like leading worship at a ministry on campus. And then I ended up auditioning for American Idol for the fun of it, because I just thought that's how you make it in the industry. I was literally so naive. But I did get a call back, and during that brief time period, I met a voice coach here in Memphis, Susan Marshall, and she took me under her wing. And once I graduated college, I moved back here, and that's when I started to like gig around town. And she taught me more than, gosh, I am so thankful for her and all of that I learned, because I learned about the hustle of the music industry, because I did not make American Idol after that, but I was grateful for the opportunity. And then I started to gig around town, booking shows, doing little interviews here and there, started co-writing with people, and started to really get my feet wet in the music industry and what all it takes. So.
Yeah. All right. What was one of the, during that time, like, especially when you were kind of learning the ins and outs and the hustling mentality of the music business, what was like a big lesson you took away from that in time in your life?
That's a great question. I think there was a lot of self-doubt that I was dealing with during that season, because you oftentimes can, like, if there's not a crowd or if they're not paying attention, you can take that and think, oh, it's because I'm not good. And like, that's literally not true. It just means, one, you might need to work on your skills a little bit, but it's also, you have to make a name for yourself. And so I learned, honestly, to just not take things personally. Like, even if like a song that I co-wrote with somebody just did not go well, I'm like, okay, it didn't go well. Like, I'm not going to take it personally, because it's like, with the music business, it can get very muddied a little bit when it comes to personal and business, and because it's a very emotionally driven business. So I learned early on that this is a business, but also, like, I need to put my big girl pants on, and like, if no one shows up to a gig, like, that's okay. And just keep going. And so, because I mean, during COVID, right before COVID hit, my friend Zach Petrini and we went on tour, and we had a gig in Lexington, Kentucky, and literally not a single person in the entire town of Lexington, Kentucky came to the show. And I was mortified. And we were told people were coming, and I brought my band, and no one came. But and then the world shut down. So we felt a little better about it. But anyways, you just learn to have thick skin. And at the end of the day, like, is this what I love? And is that enough? And learning, like, what is enough, and that my value is not in what other people think of me. So
100%. It's so funny because, like, even even doing like having booked shows, that's always a fear of mine is people not showing up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
just people not being there. Like I booked a show and like the entire first act, they played for like 40 minutes and they played to me and my sound guy. And it was just like, sorry. And then
Yeah.
but now I look back on it, it's like I booked the show wrong. That's the long and short of it was these were all musicians from out of town that nobody in the town I was living in at the time knew. And so it was a tough sell. Had I
Yeah.
went to like one of my local friends said, hey, can you open for 30 minutes and help us try and bring in a crowd a little bit? It would have probably gone over a little bit differently. But, you know, that's just stuff you've got to learn the hard way.
Right.
So
that's it right there. Like you just got to learn the hard way and you don't learn unless you go through it. So you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So where are you kind of at creatively right now? Like I know you released some music last year, you got some singles out and all that stuff, but where are you kind of at right now with your music and releasing and all that stuff?
Yeah. So right now, I recently signed with Warner Chappell, a publishing deal, which was really exciting because I've never had a publishing deal in my life. And so kind of what like that looks like now, which thankfully it works out great for my season of life because I have two kids who are 2 and 6 months old. So I feel like I'm just trying to balance like being a present mother while also writing, but right now I'm not performing. I'm just focusing on songwriting and writing and pitching for other people and seeing if they can get placed in sync or whatever. And so in the meantime, though, I've like had some songs that I've recorded just sitting in my computer. Yeah. And so my husband was like, well, in the meantime, before like things start to place or Lord willing, things will place, like just start putting stuff out and because people want to hear it. And I was like, okay. So he's honestly been a really big encourager for me to keep putting music out, even though I feel like right now my performing part of my music is on pause. So I released a song 1,000 times. I think it was October, past October. That one's probably my favorite ever. I just think it's fun and love it. And then released The Dream, which was a very honest song about the life of a songwriter, and then realizing that being a mother has always been my dream. And I put that on like July, right when my son was born. So yeah, that's kind of what I am doing now.
Fair. Actually, I scared myself a little bit. I was looking about 20 minutes before you jumped on. I was going through your Instagram just to kind of see if there was anything I was kind of missing. And it was one of your more recent posts on Instagram. I think it was just kind of like a year in review type post. And like one of the very first pictures is you with a newborn baby. I was like, wait a minute, did she just have a kid like 14 days ago? And we're going to sit here and try and do a podcast? Like,
heck no.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, did I miss something here? And then I started going through and I was like, oh no, the kid wasn't just born. Like it's a newborn, yes, but not within the last
14 days. I would not be talking to you, probably anybody.
Fair.
Yeah. I feel like I'm finally out of that newborn haze.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that photo pop up and I was like, oh my. And then I think I went through another couple of photos and I saw like the Christmas photo and I was like, okay, good.
Okay, we're good.
Not a newborn. Well, yes, a newborn, but not 2 weeks old. So
yeah. No, you're good.
Cool. So obviously with like The Dream and 1,000 Times, those are kind of your current songs that are out. Was that released under your publishing deal or is that just kind of something on the side and then the publishing deal is a little bit more recent?
Yeah, so it's under the publishing deal. Okay. So yeah, I just decided to what the heck, put it out now.
Right.
So
now,
and
good.
Oh no, you're good. It broke up. You keep going.
Okay. I was going to say, so now that have your second child out there, do you find yourself being more inspired to write more music, or are you kind of, like you mentioned, kind of in a more of a holding pattern with, like you mentioned that you're kind of on a hold with the live aspect. Do you find like your writing is becoming like, oh, hey, I've got a little bit more to write about now?
You know, I think it's both. There's more things that I feel like I'm in tune with emotionally since having another child. And it just brings up things naturally that I'm like, I would love to write about. But then I'm like, when am I going to write about this is my struggle. And so it's been really hard to find the time. And so what I've been trying to do is like write just once a week when I can. And that's like, I wish I could write more because like, yeah, I've got like inspiration like in front of my face all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it also brings up things in within your own childhood. And,
Mm-hmm.
You deal with like, you're constantly dealing with like grief because your child's growing so fast, and then joy because they're doing new milestones. And I feel like I'm always juggling those two things all the time, and which I feel like is a good space to be in for writing music. So would love to write more if I could, but this season of life does not allow me to do it as often as I would like.
Fair, very fair. You're in a good spot right now. Like you were able to get a couple of songs out last year, and I have a strong belief that when it's time to start getting more music out, it'll happen.
Oh, thank you. That's encouraging. I appreciate it. My producer texted me tonight a track that he thinks would be good for me. So I was like, yes, let's go. I'm so ready to I want to put an EP or an album out at some point. So
nice. Now, do you find like in a situation like that where if your producer comes to you and says, hey, let's go record, that might be a little bit easier to get in the right mind frame because you actually have to like physically leave the house?
1000%.
Okay.
Yes. Like I just had a trip to LA in December for a week, and it was just some co-writes with other Warner songwriters. And it was such a wonderful week because one, I got to be off mom duty for an entire week, which was awesome. And then two, when you're just like in the room with other creatives and you're there for hours in a studio, there's just nothing like it. And we got so much done, so many songs, and I left feeling so inspired. And I was like, I'm literally living my best life. I don't want to leave.
Right. And then it's like, oh, well, I got kids. They need me back at home.
I got kids. So. They need me, and I do miss them. So
yeah. Fair. And I mean, luckily it seems like you got a good support system at home that is always there to kind of pick up when you need to go do your thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel I'm so blessed in that. Like both my husband and I's parents are both here in Memphis. And they're both like incredible grandparents. So we are very lucky. I know that's not the norm for a lot of people.
Yeah. 100%. Now, is your husband a musician as well, or does he do something completely different?
He is completely different. Yeah. Okay, he's a financial advisor. So like left brain, right brain, like we married each other. And he's so like, he loves music though. Like he's introduced me to artists and has such a good ear. It's amazing. But however, he cannot keep time, can't keep rhythm. He can't clap and sing at the same time.
That's right.
He's really good at many other things.
Right. I'm the same way. I can't. Well, nope, that's not true. Because when I was in college, most of my roommates were musicians of some degree. Like one guy was a drummer, the other guy could play guitar, like a couple of things. And when on Friday nights when we were drinking, depending on who wanted to play what, if somebody wanted to play the keyboard or whatever, every once in a while they'd be like, hey, we need somebody to keep time to go, like, just hit the kick drum and just kind of keep time. And I'm like, all right. And I bring my case of beer down and just kind of sit there and just kind of do this all night. And they said I wasn't bad, but it's like, I'm just guessing at this point. So
you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, at least you got to like contribute, you know?
Right. I felt important. We'll put it that way.
Yes, so, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So outside of music, obviously mom duties aside and all that, what do you like to do to kind of decompress once you get a chance to get away from everything?
I love going to a good coffee shop. It's probably one of my favorite things. They'll be like on the weekends, they're like, all right, you get the boys for a couple hours. I'm going to go grab a coffee, read a book. I also really love painting. I actually was selling artwork to provide the income for my music for like 4 years. So that is something I like forgot how much I just like enjoy painting, because for the longest time I was painting and making money doing it. And I was like, it's nice to just like paint to paint and not try to like make money off of this. So sometimes this past Christmas, we had little painting parties with my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law and some of my girlfriends. So
nice. That's really cool. And then what's your like favorite place to go hang out at in Memphis that isn't like on Beale Street or in like the touristy part of
well, I feel like this is the perfect plug for my family's brewery, because truly it's a great spot. It's Grind City Brewing Company, and they're in Uptown. And my brother and my dad, my brother actually got like a brewing degree in England when he like dropped out of college, went to England and got a brew degree, and came back, and then him, my mom, and my dad, like all three of them are like hands-on. And so we go there often. It's like at a huge field. It's overlooking the Mississippi River and has the bridge in the background, the pyramid. So we love going there. We also love going to Shelby Farms, which is a huge park. So honestly, anything outside. We don't have the best outdoor things here, but we have some. Nice. Take advantage of what we have.
Nice. Yeah, the first time I went to Memphis, I went to the farmers market. I don't know if there's like multiple farmers markets, but all I know, the farmers market, that place was awesome. It wasn't very big, but like it was. It's just
cool. A cool vibe. Yeah, it's like on South Main. I think that one is what you're talking about.
Yep. There you go.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense because I was hanging out at South Main Sounds the night before. So
yeah, I performed at South Main Sounds back in the day.
Nice. Right? So Memphis is cool. Like I'm definitely, next time I come through, I'm gonna try and find a weekend to come out this year and just kind of hang out and do non-Beale Street things.
Yes. Oh yeah. I feel like there are so much more now. So I will send you a list.
Awesome. I love it. So if anybody wants to check out your music, any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. Do people use iTunes anymore? Yeah. Okay. On YouTube. And I primarily post on my Instagram for all the social media stuff. So you can catch me on there as well.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. One thing I want to do here before we wrap it up, though, what's one piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
My advice is to keep going and to find your identity, not in what you do, but who you are. And that is my advice, because it can take a long time to quote unquote get to where you want to be. But if you enjoy what you're doing and you just keep going, for every 10 no's, you will get one yes. So that's my advice.
100% agreed. Couldn't have said it better myself. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you all later. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Live and Amplified's Indie Fusion podcast. If you'd like to support anything Live and Amplified does, please follow us on all of our social media platforms at Live, the letter N, Amplified. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, any of them, all of them, at Live, the letter N, Amplified. And if you would like to buy any official Live and Amplified merch, you can do so at our merch shop. Link in the description below. Once again, thank you all. Have a great day.